Pretty hilarious. Third and final story of the day I want to talk about is the YouTube smear on YouTubers from the New York Times. They wrote an article today that says YouTube, the makings of a YouTube radical, or the making of a YouTube radical. And the very beginning, I'll put a picture up on it, but it says Caleb Kane was a college dropout looking for direction. He turned to YouTube. So right off the bat, they're basically saying, and then you go down, I'll just scroll down real quick so you can see. Soon he was pulled into a far right universe, watching thousands of videos filled with conspiracy theories, misogyny, and racism. I was brainwashed. And then they go down to Caleb Kane pulled out a Glock pistol on his waistband, took out a magazine, and casually tossed both on the kitchen counter. I bought it the day after I got death threats, he said. So they're painting the picture of this insane far-right radical, loading his Glock or loading his gun, putting it on the table. And what pictures are they using? Let's name some of these people and look how insane it is. So we got Dave Rubin, who worked for the Young Turks, calls himself a classic liberal, and is so incredibly light. He's definitely libertarian right-wing, but the fact that, and there's a lot of progressives I watch that constantly hate on Dave Rubin and say that he's so far right and such a liar. It's like, dude, if you can't watch Dave Rubin's channel and watch him interview people and, just deal with it and not think that he's some sort of far right-wing crazy lie. It's like, he has a lot of very intelligent people on, has interesting discussions. He's not that right-wing at all. It's just crazy. So anybody that leans right at all, if you're libertarian, Republican, if you like low taxes, personal liberties, if any one of the 50 Republican policies, strong immigration, Dave Rubin is a gay liberal who, is now libertarian, and they're basically trying to say that he's radicalizing people on YouTube. It's insane. Alex Jones, obviously you know about him. I don't need to tell you too much. Stefan Molyneux, who is very calm and I would say reasonable. I know a lot of people think he's crazy because he talks about DNA and genetics and IQ levels, and he talks about race, and he's white and he doesn't hate himself, so people think that's so crazy. But I've listened. I can't say I'm the biggest Stefan Molyneux fan. I've actually met him at Politicon. He was there. Nice guy. Interviewed him for a little, and to me, I asked him, what do you think the most important thing was? And he was talking about raising your children, and seemed like a very nice guy, and I've watched his channel, watched a few things. I can't say I've watched everything. He's very soft-spoken and calm, and he doesn't yell. I've listened to him a bit, and I saw nothing. I don't know. It's just like, is he radical because he's a white Christian male who's unapologetic? I guess that's all you need to be now to be the enemy of the fake news media. Ben Shapiro is there. Obviously not extremely extreme by any means. I disagree with Ben on a lot of stuff, but to suggest that he's radicalizing people is pretty insane. There's another Stefan Molyneux picture. I guess one wasn't enough. They want to blame him twice. Milo Yiannopoulos, who is a gay, right-wing Jewish guy who gets called a Nazi even though he's Jewish, and he's anti-everything, I guess, because he makes jokes and is a little edgy and wants, tries to make, I don't know. I doubt he's radicalizing very many people, but who knows. Jordan Peterson, who is literally super calm. He's not even right wing. I think he said he would vote he gets a lot of heat from a lot of right wingers in America because they think that he's an operative or a liar or not right wing enough, and he barely talks about politics. If you listen to Jordan Peterson, he's like, clean your bed, eh? Make your room, eh? Change starts within. How can you change the world if you can't make your house nice, eh? He's just basically telling you self-accountability, self-responsibility. He doesn't believe in the gender gap and all this stuff. He understands that women are not getting certain roles because of certain psychological things, and women are built differently biologically. And Jordan Peterson helps coach women and men to be better. And he also understands the main concept of why left-wing ideology almost always fails economically and socially for some reasons. But you can't make equality 100% equal in the sense of you can have equality of opportunity, which means everybody has an equal opportunity to get a place, but you can't make equal outcomes. And a lot of people don't understand that. So you can't make the worst person great at basketball. You can't make the laziest person a millionaire. You can't make some people not do heroin and live on the street. But when you live in a left-wing state, what they do is subsidize poverty and subsidize bad behavior and subsidize all the most awful things and incentivize it that way, which Thomas Sowell said and many others. There's a great quote by him. So Jordan Peterson, not right wing, not never even really doesn't even like talk about Trump or like Trump, literally talks about self-accountability, being blamed by the psychotic extremist publication New York Times. I'm calling them, since they want to call everybody else extremists and blame them for radicalizing people. I think the New York Times radicalizes more people and starts more wars than any of these people could dream of. And to suggest that Jordan Peterson is radicalizing people is literally one of the most psychotic, insane things you could possibly say, whether you like or dislike Jordan Peterson. I mean, listen to the guy for 2 hours, and you're better off than reading New York Times for 2 years. New York Times is like pouring acid on your brain, unless it's, I'm sure they have good articles sometimes, but Jordan Peterson, it's basic psychology of how to succeed, and it's literally insane that they put him. I'm going to read some others. Philip DeFranco. This is maybe the most insane person that they put on this list, and this really ticks me off because I've watched Philip DeFranco since I was in college, since 2008. I don't watch him that much anymore, to be quite honest, but he is one of the most centrist news sources on YouTube. He goes in on a topic, he says what he feels, he says what they're saying, he says what they're saying, and he really gets to a lot of topics. Sometimes I personally, for my taste, I find that Philip DeFranco leans too left-wing, but I would never call him a left-wing extremist or say he's far left. He's as center as you can be. I would say he's center-left, and in some areas I've seen him back up conservatives when most people won't, but I don't find his reporting on Trump very impressive or honest, and I've kind of tuned out because I'm not a big fan of his political analysis per se, but I really love and respect Philip DeFranco, and I understand that he is very central. If anything, leans too far left for me, but I'm sure some people see that and say, well, he disagrees with me there. Point I'm getting to is Philip DeFranco. Watch his news analysis. Go on YouTube and watch Philly D or Philip DeFranco. Watch how he does his news, and you'll probably be pretty impressed, or at least understand that this guy's not that crazy. He's what the mainstream media wishes they could be. He does a good job of saying, this is what the story is, this is what they're like. He's pretty cool. He's an awesome guy. I'm very appreciative that someone like Philip DeFranco stepped into the YouTube sphere and really paved the way for a lot of people, including myself, I would say. So the fact that they put him on this thing and basically suggested that he was an alt-right, far-right conspiracy theorist, when he is the furthest thing from that, is psychotic, insane, and I hope Philip DeFranco presses charges against them if possible, because a psychotic, literally insane extremist publication such as the New York Times, masquerading around as a left-wing trusted central news organization while they constantly pressure others and try to demonetize and hate on other people, it is literally psychotic, and I'm disgusted by the New York Times for putting the picture of Philip DeFranco there, because if they ever do this stuff to me, trust me, they will not hear the end of it. They think what I'm saying now, I don't take these type of things very lightly, so I don't know exactly legally what I could do, but as far as with my influence and my reach and my videos, I will make sure that even for other people, protect them. Make sure people know what's going on and how disgusting the New York Times is. And I want to say the New York Times is disgusting for this, and this type of disgusting, psychotic, and awful reporting is the reason that Donald Trump won the election. No one likes you. It's the reason that a lot of the left wing is starting to move to the Jimmy Dores or the Young Turks, not so much, but Kyle Kalinskis and these other progressive people, the Amy, I forget her name, what's the, not Occupy Democrat, but there's the Democracy Now! These are the socialist communist ideology, just to be quite frank, is taking over the left wing because psychotic news organizations like the New York Times, no one likes you. Jimmy Dore doesn't like you, Kyle Kalinske doesn't like you, Democracy Now! Doesn't like you, the right wing doesn't like you, some people like you, some left wing people still believe you, but you look at Europe, you look at the United States, people are more far left than they've ever been. They're more socialist and communist than they've ever been. And they're more right-wing than they've ever been. And this trend is happening in Canada. This trend is happening in the United States. This trend is happening in Brazil and South America. This trend is happening in Mexico. They have a far left president now. This trend is happening in Europe. This trend is happening in Australia. So the New York Times, if you don't get your grip together, you're not only going to continuously lose support and all this money, like, please, you can't read our articles. We need $1 before you read our articles. We get it. You have no money, and I don't even want to read your articles. Like, it's like New York Times and Washington Post are so desperate. Don't read our articles. Please subscribe. Nobody wants to give you $1. I get it. That's all. You're like a homeless guy on the side of the street. Please give me $1 so I can still put out this crappy news, even though we have all the money and power and we're funded by, billionaires who own our the New York Times and Washington Post respectfully. Look who owns them up. Please give us $1 or you can't read it. Perfect. Now I'm not going to read it because I didn't want to in the first place. But they're begging for money and blacking out the screen. If you guys know what I'm talking about, when you go and they say you can't read because they want money, it's pathetic and very desperate. So I'm going to read a few others, and then we're going to get down to the article. They got Gavin McGinnis in here. It looks like maybe Yuri Bezmenov. I'm not quite sure, but who else they got? Paul Joseph Watson, of course. They got to drag him into this, basically saying that they're radicalizing people. And now we're going to go to New York Times. This is from May 26, 2004, because after basically lobbying for our president and our military to invade Iraq, they apologized. Oh, oops, we just helped, use our influence and power to start a war that was basically, set on false pretense and has millions of people died and were displaced, and there's been casualties, and millions of American families and veterans have been affected by these nonstop gruesome wars that probably were started for something that had nothing to do with America's safety or security, but that's a whole different story. General Wesley Clark, said what he thinks our agenda was, which this was set a long time ago to go into these countries, but that's for you to decide. From the editors, the Times in Iraq, New York Times, May 26, 2004. Over the last year, this newspaper has shown the bright light of hindsight on decisions that led the United States into Iraq. We have examined the failings of American and Allied intelligence, especially on the issue of Iraq's weapons and possible Iraqi connections to internal terrorists. We have studied the allegations of our official gullibility and hype. It is past time we've turned the same light on ourselves. In doing so, reviewing hundreds of articles written during the prelude to the war, we found an enormous amount of journalism that we are proud of. All right, so if you get what they're saying is they're apologizing for basically lobbying and helping the United States get into Iraq, and they said they were gullible to the hype and allegations, and that the Allied intelligence from the American intelligence and Ally intelligence was actually false. So 2 takeaways that you should take away from this, whether you like Trump or hate Trump, whether you're far left or far right. They tell us now, and everyone's done with their BS. Everybody knows they're lying. They tell us now you can't question the intelligence communities. They say that to Trump all the time. How dare him question the United States intelligence? He's a madman. He can't. First of all, look into the history of the intelligence agencies and all of the stuff they've been involved in. And, you can read CBS articles where, you read things that they were planning to do when it came to Cuba, and they were admitting that they were thinking about false flags and fake bombings or real bombings or sinking a boatload of Cubans to justify wars. So when they say false flags are fake, Ron Paul's crazy, what they're really saying is, we actually have thought about doing that. We probably have done that before. And if you say it or think about it or talk about it, we're going to call you crazy and smear you in these goofy, disgusting, psychotic publications like the New York Times, even though they themselves are admitting now, oops, we started a war based on our gullibility to fake intelligence. So this is what hypocritical, two-faced snakes the mainstream media is. They'll tell you in 2004 that they helped start a war based on fake intelligence and rumors and gullibility and American intelligence and our allies' intelligence. And in 2019, they say everybody that's left-wing that disagrees with me is a radical, and you can't question the intelligence communities or you're a bad person, even though that's what we should have done in 2004, and we admitted that. They are such liars and such a dangerous psychotic organization. And the reason I'm saying this is because for these people in the pictures, and I'm very grateful it's not me, you're putting their well-being and money and career and other things on the line by saying, look at these people, they're radicalizing the far right. Meanwhile, Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin, Philip DeFranco, who leans left. It's like, you've got to be out of your mind to do this stuff. But this is who these people are. They say, why did we lose the election? Ooh, it's got to be the radicalization of YouTube. Let's censor them. Let's take them away so we can be the only voice. We're the only safe voice. Even though we helped start the war in Iraq, we're the safe voice. We're the voice of reason. No, you're not. You're losers. You're fake news, just like Trump says. Everybody knows it. The left wing knows it. The right wing knows it. You're losing all over the world. And writing articles like this are reckless and awful. It's just awful that they wrote this. And I wanted to stand up for some of my YouTube brothers and sisters, whether they know who I am or not, because I just don't like what they're doing. And that you could tell your story of a radical. I do believe that there are people who are brainwashed on YouTube. I do think that there are right-wing people who radicalize right-wingers. I think that there's left-wing people who radicalize left-wingers. But at the end of the day, my question always is, what is the truth? What's not true? What's perspective? What's your perspective? What's the truth? I don't care who says it. And that's what the New York Times says. They don't care about the truth. They act like they do, but they don't. But they say, Trump said this. Jordan Peterson, bad man. Dave Rubin, bad man. Philip DeFranco, bad. They can't have a conversation about actual substance or actual policy or actual, why did Trump say that? What's the truth? What's going on at the border? Why would right-wingers think that? Why would left-wingers think that? Do you see what they're saying? Do you see what they're saying? Here's in the middle, or here's a compromise, or here's the right decision. They don't do that at all. They just say, everyone who disagrees with me, whether you're left-wing or right-wing, is horrible, an extremist, a terrible person, you're awful, you're a terrorist, you're an extremist. You know, they literally call American citizens who believe in the Second Amendment terrorists, like you're a terrorist organization because you want to protect the Second Amendment. Free speech is bad. These people are literally psychotic extremists. And I say that with all due love and respect. I know they do great articles sometimes, but they can't possibly have a conversation about trade. They can't possibly have a conversation about the wars. They can't possibly do that. All they know is hype beast tactics, emotional tactics, labeling people stuff. I'm very rare. I don't care if a communist says it. I don't care if a far right-wing person says it. I don't care if that person's, they'll say, he's the most racist bigot in the world. Well, that's great. Well, it's not great. It's horrible. But all right, what is he saying, though? If he says, I like water, what they would say is, he says that Tulsi Gabbard agrees with him because of Tulsi Gabbard and Trump, they promote it. It's like, but what is he saying? Is he saying not to start a war in Syria? Well, if that's the case, then I agree with that. I don't care if Trump says it. I don't care if that person says it. I don't care if Hillary Clinton says it. So you get what I'm saying? That's why my news analysis tends to be a little bit more accurate or honest or thoughtful sometimes, because I'll be like, you know what, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a point there. And right-wing, what? I don't care how much you hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If she says something that's true, it's true whether you like it or not. And if she's going to do something about it, go do it. And that's the difference between me and the New York Times and a lot of people, is they can't separate emotions and labels and hatred for certain people from what they're actually saying. And that's the whole story of Donald Trump and all these people on YouTube. There's certain people that I just mentioned and I defended that I'm not big fans of, and I don't like specifically what they do, and I do find some of their stuff, you know, not up my alley, or maybe, you know, a little off keel for my liking. However, to try to say that they're this type of person and paint them in the most evil, horrible light possible just to justify your own weirdness, I don't like it. And I hope that New York Times knows not only do they need to keep begging for dollars, but they're going to lose the next election. They're losing all worldwide, and they're going to get taken over by the far left progressive wing, which they're like, well, we don't want socialism and communism. No. Well, too late, because that's going to happen, because Bernie Sanders and the Tulsi Gabbards and these type of people are way more popular than these other people, the Joe Bidens and Beto, whatever. Like, these people are not long-term. The far left is rising. The right wing is rising. This New York Times is not doing well, so they try to just kick everyone out and take away their money. And the only way to stop this, the only way to stop Trump or to stop the far left, is to stop yourself and understand that you're causing it. So I hope the New York Times has a big reflection period like they did in 2004 when they helped start the Iraq War with their awful, horrible fake reporting based on fake intelligence from the, intelligence communities from the United States and others, which a lot of us in 2004 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 knew was fake. But if we said it's fake, like it was fake, like you're now admitting it's fake, they'd call us a crazy or a conspiracy theorist, or in some cases they'd say you're anti-American, and right-wingers are guilty of that sometimes too. Sometimes people literally are anti-American, I do believe, but other times, like with wars and stuff, we knew that this was fake, and it's just sickening to see the same people who are admitting they were wrong then about fake intelligence now saying you're a crazy kooky person if you question this intelligence that is not only was fake then, but when Trump goes against them now, he's right to. They're not right. They're wrong, and they have an agenda that has nothing to do with accurate portrayal of things. They have, a power and political kind of, agenda to follow, and Trump knows that, and so do a lot of other people. So hopefully you like this video. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America, and God bless the world. Let me know if you like this video style. If you did, I'll do more of that. If not, I'll do regular live streams, but I thought this would be a fun way with some pop-ups to make it a little more interactive. And when I do it this way, just to let you know, it's more HD. The quality is a lot better. So and I get to put ads on it on Facebook too. So there's 3 reasons that I like that, but I do like the lives as well. Let me know if you like this better, worse, or the same, and we'll act accordingly. Thank you guys.